Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Scottish Football, episode 28 of the podcast series. Myself, Ryan Fitzsimons, joined by my good co-host, the man himself, David Buick. David, how are we doing today?
I'm all right, mate, yeah. A busy week. Busy few weeks coming up for Scottish football.
And not just a busy week for Scottish football, a busy week for Scotland altogether after the announcement's been made by wee Nicky last night.
Yeah.
We're going to touch on that. We're in some trying times once more. Just as we think we're moving forward, we get moved back. Kind of feels like Hearts, doesn't it? You know, there's that hope of
it's like Hearts'
staying up.
2019-2020 season. You get little glimmers of hope and then
back there, back to the start. So it's got to be a weird few months once more. It feels like there's been no progress in the football front of things. But it's in times like this you realise, just to start off the show itself, Talk Scottish Football, how much football actually means to people. Because I've seen the outcry, you know, and we've been talking, people are talking about how they can't cancel the sport. Seen how Stephen Robinson was speaking in the newspapers. Look, football means so much. And for two people who are just sitting in front of a camera talking absolute nonsense, you know, it is a very big part of our lives. So let's hope the football stays on, and it looks as though it will. But we've got a lot to cover, Davidson.
We do. Starting with the weekend, very busy weekend. We'll kick off with Celtic, since they were one of the 3 o'clocks on Saturday. 3-2 win over Livy. The scoreline maybe slightly flattered Livy, and Celtic, by all accounts, didn't play poorly, but, you know, in the end it was a bit nervy towards the end.
It was one of those performances that it's just summarised the start of the season for Neil Lennon. The scoreline suggests that he is still clueless, and people talking about how he's picking his teams out of a hat in the morning of the games. You know, there's a lot of talk around his decision making, but look, it just comes down to, and I've said that enough on my own channel, but Livingston took the chance they were handed for their second goal. They had a penalty for their first goal. Those mistakes that we make, cut them out, and you're looking at a 3-0 win there for Celtic, the conversation would be different. As you said, it flattered Livingston. But the upper hand in the title race is the main talking point coming out of that. So I'm happy with that. But we need to touch up on those wee mistakes, and the defensive errors that are costing goals. They're not good enough at this level. It's
such a fine line, though, because, you know, we're talking about how the scoreline flattered Livingston a little bit. There was a couple of moments at the end where that could have easily been 3-3, and then all of a sudden it's a disaster. You know, so these tiny mistakes can make such a difference.
It's like that in the 93rd minute, man standing wide open on the box for Livingston, header. I mean, if you've got a half-decent striker up there, someone that plays at a higher level than Livingston, 9 times out of 10 they're going to take that chance and at least put it on target, and then you're talking a completely different story at the end of the game. So you're spot on. We talk about these individual moments. Like, just imagine that goes in. Imagine Celtic drop points for the second time in the first 7-8 games.
Yeah, I mean, the whole talking points after that game are completely different from the moment we're saying Celtic played well, but, you know, maybe need to cut out a couple of mistakes too. It's a disaster if they score at the end. One thing I will say, though, is, you know, I think the big talking point, obviously the position they're now in the league table, but among Celtic fans especially, and other people, you know, Neil Lennon clearly doesn't know his best team. And that's kind of telling again. Obviously, you know, they've got to rotate. We talked about how on the stream on Saturday, Edouard had played a lot of football since coming back from injury. Maybe needed a rest, but, you know, he needs to find a settled team. There's only 2 more league games now until the Old Firm, and he needs to find that settled team going into that. And that's obviously seems like a bit of an issue just now.
There's 2 men in particular from Celtic that I would like to speak about very briefly before we end up moving on to the next game. First one, Albion Ayeti. Absolutely tremendous player. I think he has turned out to be, you know, perhaps our signing of the season. We talk about how good Shane Duffy is, but for me, Albion Ayeti is someone who's got to come in this league and score 20-odd goals. He consistently has found himself in the right areas. He's got the finishing touch. He can move with the ball. But more importantly, off the ball, his vision is fantastic. I think he's, you know, you've seen the goal he scored against Livingston, getting on the end of that ball and getting, you know, his position right. The keeper, you could say, should do better in that scenario. I think Robbie McCrory has made a hash of things slightly, but the technique to get on the end of the ball, get his positioning right, and then finish it the way he done. It's just that snippet of football from Ayeti says a lot for me. It speaks volumes. The second man, and I want to ask your opinion coming from an outside perspective, Odsonne Edouard. Do you think he will stay at Celtic?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's been any developments on that front. There hasn't been any big bids from anyone. There hasn't been any. I don't know. I don't get the vibe from someone who's not paying an awful lot of attention to it that he's going into I mean, who are the teams that are currently like to be interested?
I think we're looking at Aston Villa reigniting their interest.
There's not a hope in hell he's leaving for Aston Villa.
There's talk of Arsenal looking at him. I'm sure there's a couple of teams over in France that are probably piping up interest. Of course, there's still time in the transfer window for stuff to develop, but the thing that speaks, so people are still, there's still this kind of worry amongst certain groups of support that because he was left out, he might be off, he might be thinking about leaving. But the thing that speaks to me is, right, Neil Lennon's pressure this year so far has been sky high. It's been, at points it's looked as though he can't overcome it. He came out in the press and said he's adamant that Edouard will not leave the club. Now, for a man who's seen such pressure, I don't think he could come out and say that without confidence. He said
it would have to take an unbelievable bid for him to be let go.
Because if Neil Lennon said that, right, just imagine Neil Lennon came out and says, I think Odsonne Edouard is leaving the club. I don't think Edouard is leaving the club. And then he did leave the club. How would that make Neil Lennon look with the pressure he's already had on him this season?
I think Neil Lennon's, I said this on Saturday in the stream, he's in a lose-lose situation anyway this season. There is always going to be an element of Celtic support that don't want him as the man in charge. That's not going to change. Regardless if he wins 10 or not, there'll still be that element. I don't think Edouard's going anywhere. One, because, well, to find a replacement of his quality is nigh enough impossible without just gambling. So it's going to take at least, I don't even think 35 million would be enough. I think for Celtic to accept the bid at this stage, you're talking 40 plus. Aston Villa, 30 million on a striker who was in the English Championship. There's no way Celtic will let go of him. Also, teams like Arsenal have been linked. Aubameyang's just signed a new contract. Lacazette's back in form. They don't need him just now. And with all the financial uncertainty, someone to pay that big a fee, I just don't see it happening. Yeah, right. So we're talking about Edouard, but you talk about that first goal with Ayeti. McCrory might be at fault for his positioning, but it's an unbelievable finish. And Ayeti's proven that goal scorer. A lot of his goals have been like inside the box, instinctive finishes. So you're sure about 20 goals this season. I don't think we'll be too far off. No. But yeah, it's important to get. I think we've talked a lot about Scott Brown's role in the side, and even I've come to accept now he's not leaving that team. So do you think the team that they played against Ross County is the strongest team?
With the addition of Edouard against Ross County. So against Ross County, I think that is. Yeah, to me, that's the best 11. I guess there is a conversation of Taylor and Forrest.
It's certainly the 11 you want side. For the... Yeah, I think if you're going to go for the old firm, maybe you'd want Taylor in ahead of Forrest. I'd
want Taylor on the left. I'd want a natural-sided left defender. I don't want a right winger at the left-hand side who can't put a tackle in for the life of him because he's scared of breaking his legs. So, for me, Taylor goes into that team, and then you're looking at the best 11 from there.
On to Livy, though. I think for Livy, if you look at the way they started the season, Gary Holt was critical that his players were a bit soft. They weren't, resolute enough, weren't disciplined enough. That seemed to be a little bit more like Livingston at the weekend, in that they stayed in the game, they made it difficult. They did take the chances when they got them, and they were very close to getting a point. So he'll be, I think, a little bit more encouraged with that, despite the fact that they beat.
He's got to be pleased with the performance. At the end of the day, how many times did Livingston come to Celtic Park and put in a shift like that? It's never really happened. The difference now, or the situation that Celtic find themselves in now, is when we head over to the Tony Macaroni, they will kick us up and down the park and know exactly what to do. Because they snippets of the game that they had where they made life difficult, they can expand that over a 90-minute course. No doubt about it. They can do that against Celtic on their own ground. So it's going to be difficult to play them again. But Gary Holt, you're talking about how he's pleased with the performance. On the other, if you flip that coin for a second, it's got to get moving. Livingston, start of the season, absolutely atrocious. I mean, a point against Rangers looked promising. The performance against Celtic looked promising. All these shortcomings are only going to keep them up, though. At the end of the day, what's going to keep them up is 3 points. And they're not doing it against the wee teams. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a mentality of all these big players leaving them. You've seen Lawless leave. You've seen Dykes leave. You've seen, over the last couple of years as well, you look at Ricky Lamy leaving. You see Declan Gallagher leaving a couple of years ago. A lot of players have just went, right, moved on to bigger things. As the mentality of the players surrounding them dropped, have they not got those players to encourage them on? I don't know what's going on there, but Gary Holt has to pick it up.
I think there's a number of sides in the same sort of boat, and I think it's a nice wee segue into the game I watched on Saturday. Dundee United against St Mirren. St Mirren are, I think, in a very similar position to Livy in that, we all know that these teams, St Mirren and Livingston, have got the ability, they've got the potential, they've got a manager who can turn things around for them. St Mirren, after such a promising start, have been absolutely rotten recently, but a spirited show against Celtic. Against St Johnstone, hopeless. They're hopeless at the weekend until they went down to 10 men. So these teams are in a similar boat where they need to start picking up points. And every week it feels like there's another team who is in trouble just because of how the results are panning out. But, on to Dundee United, though, a big win. And it's just telling that as soon as Lauren Shankland's back in the side, he's scoring and he's getting them 3 points. A magical goal.
And you couldn't start. That was a bit like you just touched on it. A magical goal. You couldn't stop raving about that goal.
That was a brilliant goal.
Absolutely outstanding. And for me, I spoke about Shankland coming up to the top league in the first podcast I think we've done for the season. We all spoke about him. Me, you, and Div was on too. We were talking about how big an impact he'll have on that side. This now, after the injury and that being out the squad for every game pretty much, this has to be the turning point. This can kick Dundee United on. Mickey Mirren has been, they got battered off of Kilmarnock. They had their slump. Celtic kind of started it for them. Now Shankland come back into this team. I think this could be a real ignition for them to kick on this season, get some good results. And of course, it's not easy. Every game, and for a team of Dundee United's standard, every game is difficult. They can't look at somebody like, Celtic look at a game like, I don't know, St Johnstone at home and go, right, this is 3 points. But Dundee United can never look at a game like that. But for Mickey Mirren, this should be a wee bit of form going on from now. And I think Shankland, his confidence must be going up with that goal at the weekend. I mean, I know it's only one goal. People might be going, Camden, one goal. But you've seen the quality of that goal itself.
Yeah.
Shankland will think to himself, I can do this every week.
Yeah, there's no one else on the pitch that scores that goal on Saturday. And the thing is with Shankland is, I say a lot about him when I talk about him and Nisbet as a comparison. He didn't do an awful lot in the game on Saturday apart from that. If I'm honest, he didn't. He had another chance, maybe he could have scored, but in general play, he didn't do an awful lot, I didn't feel. But again, nobody else on the pitch apart from him can score that goal, and it's why he'll be so key to Dundee United. And now that he's off the mark, if he can go again this weekend, he'll be back in the Scotland squad for next month. He'll be staking a claim. So for him personally and for Dundee United, it was a really good win. But St Mirren, though, just absolutely honking, just dreadful. Yeah. And I don't understand Jim Goodwin's selection. We're both big fans of Jim Goodwin as a manager, but I couldn't understand for the life of me why at the weekend he's playing John O'Beaka off the left wing. I just do not get it.
It's so weird because he's got no kind of...
Technically, it's not amazing. But
I was about to say, correct me if you think I'm wrong. I don't think he hosts any attributes that make him a left winger. I don't think anything points towards him playing off the wing.
Yeah, it's the signing of Lee Irwin, though, is sort of shunting him out there, which...
Aye.
O'Beaka started the season reasonably well, got a goal at Hamilton. Tail end of last season, he was scoring goals from through the middle. And since, for me, they've pushed him out to the wide area with Irwin coming in, they've not looked that great. And they were just so passive at the weekend. I mean, we both watched at the start of the season. Richard Tate was doing really well. Jack Anthony was doing brilliantly. They were getting results. And we were generally thinking, can they push top six? They said it pre-season, we laughed at them. But we're thinking, actually, maybe they could. They need to, same as Levy, they need to rekindle that early season form. I think they've got the players and the manager to get back to that level. But with so many teams in the same boat, eventually somebody's going to end up stranded down near the bottom.
And it all comes back to the point you've brought up so many times this season. We know the top 4 or 5 are locked in. You've said it umpteen times. Down there it is going to be a dogfight for every single team. I don't think it's going to be like last year. It was 30. We played 33 games. Did we get to 33 games? But the entire season we were stuck with the 3 teams down the bottom. It was St Mirren, Hamilton, and Hearts. They were the 3 teams. It was one of those were going to finish bottom. One was going to. But now you're generally looking at a situation where everybody below 5th place could be fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. And with St Mirren and Livingston not getting results at the weekend, one side who've been in a similar boat are Ross County, and they did get a result. We both. Well, you thought it was the drama of the weekend.
I would love to bring up the part of course, we do our Saturday live show whenever we can. And you started going off on me when I was about to say, the stinker of the weekend. But was that right, David? Was it the stinker of the weekend?
Well, it didn't sound like it was great, but think about pushing it a little bit.
I know, because you're like that one. You're just so predictable. I know what you're going to say.
Well, normally the thing is, you end up with a stinker, so that was my thought process.
I know. So you thought Celtic was going to be the stinker?
Yeah, I could see that being like 1-0, and it would be like the scrappiest game ever. But
a Scott Brown tap in the night.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Although you'd probably enjoy that, to be fair.
I enjoyed it before.
But yeah, I mean, Ross County, massive win for them.
Aye.
Ian Vigurs with a goal. But here's the thing, St Johnstone are another one of those results, and they're not getting them just now. And it's not going to take long before... Actually, one thing for St Johnstone, they signed Craig Bryson. I do not understand that at all. So they've got a midfield...
I think it's quite a decent signing.
Right. In isolation, yes, but when your midfield is now going to be made up of Craig Bryson, Craig Conway, David Wallacepoon, Murray Davidson, who are all early to mid-30s, and then Ali McCann, who's going to have to do all the running. It just doesn't seem like a... For me, Callum Davidson was put in there to maybe put a vision across, put a style of play across, change things from where they had been under Tommy Wright. So then why is he now filling a midfield full of guys who have only got maybe a year or two left at this level? It doesn't make an awful lot of sense in terms of a project.
In terms of a project, yes, I can see where you're coming from, right? But perhaps Callum Davidson, and I'm not a football manager. I've not got a clue by any means. The most joy I get out of coming close to it is playing the game on a computer, for God's sake, right? But, think of it as maybe Callum Davidson's coming in this season, get a feel for the team, get some experience in there, and then, start gradually making the changes. Perhaps
if Craig Bryson's not working at Aberdeen, how is he going to work at St Johnstone?
Well, I mean, Aberdeen is a step up, isn't it? Like Aberdeen, you're going to Aberdeen are a team with a better team all round. It's a more difficult side to get into. You're looking at the likes of Robbie McCrory in there that they've signed. There's no way that Bryson's going to compete with him in that team. There's no way.
Well, but when he signed, though, everyone thought it was going to be a great signing coming from Derby County. He was still playing down there, and he's also playing with better players. He's now dropping down, if you look at it this way, playing with lesser players than what he was playing at Derby and at Aberdeen. I don't understand how that means he's going to stand out more. I just find it all a bit bizarre. I don't think he's going to turn their season around.
I thought when I first said, maybe turning the season round isn't quite the calibre of player I find in there. But I think he's definitely done enough to prove that at St Johnstone he'll be a decent addition. I think that he can come in and players will bounce off him well. Ali McCann, I think he's a good player that could partner up with him. But only time will tell. Perhaps you're right. I don't watch enough of St Johnstone and Callum Davidson's football to point out the exacts. But I think I don't know. Just first impressions, I was quite surprised first of all. But then I was quite optimistic for them. I think it'll be a decent addition.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they certainly need somebody who's going to try and get them going because they're.
It's going to be one of these ones there where I'll leave the end of the season with egg in my face, isn't it?
Well, listen, when he signed for Aberdeen, I was raving about how it was a great signing, and he absolutely flopped. So I can see there's some thing happening. But yeah, they certainly need somebody to get them going. On the final 3 o'clock on Saturday was Kelly Hamilton. A bit of a bizarre game in that, with the way the game went, I couldn't see anything other than a Hamilton 3 points at half time. Go in the break one each with a man advantage. And they end up getting beat. So not a great result for Brian Rice, but for Alex Dyer, absolutely huge. And what character his team showed to fight through and get 3 points.
As I said on the podcast, on the live show, for me, that result is going to be very telling for Hamilton this season. And honestly, I think we could be looking at the. I know we're talking a dogfight down there, and I might just be backtracking on what I've said. I'm not going to come out and say Hamilton are going to finish bottom. But if they don't,
even though we both did in our pre-season predictions,
true. I didn't. I said Ross County.
Oh, did you? All right.
You didn't say that because mine. We had that situation where me and Div were like,
you both put County down and I put Hamilton stay up, right? Okay.
Then you came out and went, Ross County won't finish that far down, right? 11th place, Ross County. Down 11 wasn't much better. But the situation now for Big Chippers Mob is like, look. If you're not taking advantage of those scenarios, if you're not taking the advantage of being a man up at half time, the game's yours to go and take, and you're losing, you're not even taking a point, you're losing. Hamilton will find themselves in a situation this year, they'll go down, and they need to find out what's going wrong there. I think on the park, from what I've seen of Hamilton this season, I've had the luxury of watching them twice now, I think, over the live streams. They just look a bit, I don't want to use shambolic, that's maybe too far, because they have looked promising at times. They're a bit rash. They're a bit... There's not a lot of logic behind what they do. Maybe they're lacking the mentality.
Just same old Hamilton, isn't it, really?
Aye.
And that's why I don't think you can read an awful lot into this result, because they lost to Ross County at home, they lost to St Mirren at home, and we're all thinking, they're doomed. This is the season, they're doomed. They've got to win those games, they're going to stay up. They didn't win those games, then they go and win at Motherwell, then they go and win at Livingston when we don't expect them to do so. So I think in isolation, you can't read an awful lot into this result, because if Hamilton has proven anything over the last 10 years, is that they're very unpredictable. There's not an awful lot of logic in terms of where they pick up their points.
It's one of those ones as well where it's just far too early on to tell. We'll have a good idea by January, I think, of what we'll expect to see with the relegation sides. But I don't know. It's just, there's got to be... I think Hamilton... You're talking about Craig Bryson got to St Johnstone a minute ago. I think Hamilton need a signing like that. I think Hamilton need a leader. I think they've lost... I think that the biggest thing that they've done wrong is not replacing Alec Gogic. I think his loss has been detrimental to the terms of winning mentality in the park. He was a warrior. And you see it at Hibs as well. Technically, he is nothing special.
No.
He really isn't. I mean, if you're talking about technical ability, he's probably not even a Scottish Premiership quality player. But he's a warrior. He puts himself in the line. He's got a winning attitude. And that's what Hamilton need. I think they need a couple of those in their squad, especially through the middle of the park. They're very young. You've got Willow Smith on the park, who is a great player, but he's no got the experience that perhaps St Johnstone have got now with signing players like Bryson. You're talking about these 29-30-year-old players coming in. I think Hamilton could be doing with a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair shout. I mean, not just Gogic, but when Darren McKenna left them in January last year, albeit he's past probably playing in the Premiership, well, definitely past it. But in terms of experience and what he brought to the squad,
is he still at Partick?
No, he's at is he not at Drumchapel Amateurs now?
Oh, you're taking the mick.
I'm sure that's right. I'm sure that's right.
I didn't know that. I thought he was still at Partick Thistle.
No, he got let go from Thistle. So was it just a rumour he was going there? I'm sure I heard that.
Is it the equivalent of him?
He's at Drumchapel. Yeah.
What division are he in?
I don't know. It's juniors, isn't it? So yeah.
Jeez, sign me up for the Shelton juniors.
I mean, yeah, it's one thing that's happened. One thing that's happened with the COVID is all these players have dropped into the lower league and juniors and stuff. But he's another one who didn't replace in terms of presence in the squad, presence on the pitch. So yeah, I mean, I just find it so tough talking about Hamilton and predicting what they're going to do because you just never know, to be honest. For Kelly though, I mean, big Kabamba coming up with the goods again. Did you see he broke his red card?
Yes, I did.
And red for you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yes.
It was a wee bit of it's one of those where I don't think he's gone to do him, but when your studs are that high on someone's leg, you've got absolutely no argument.
You're not going to win the referee over. No amount of good looks and charm is rescinding that red card.
Yeah. And that was that magic result for Kelly. And then one of the Sunday games, first the early kick of the Sunday, the game of the weekend. Wow, what a game.
Yeah, the Kevin Nisbet show, am I right?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't think it was, but it could have been. I mean, he could have had a couple. I mean, there's one massive chance he had in the second half where he just fresh airs one in the 6-yard box. Aye. And if he puts that in, it would be the Kevin Nisbet show. But he was fantastic.
See the chance that he had in the first half. McLaughlin makes a wonderful save. The turn, the shot, everything. Oh my goodness!
It's what I've said to you about him loads of times before. Is that he makes these chances for himself. So, like he gets that ball fizzed into him. You don't expect him to have a really good chance when he's got his back to goal. He's got defender squaring him up. To make that chance, the quick touch, then the quick shot, almost got out. It was a great save. But I mean, it's one of those where Hibs have. I didn't think Rangers were that bad, if I'm honest. I thought at times Hibs just did really, really well to stop them. I mean, the 3-5-2 worked perfectly. They were so physical, Hibs, and it's the big talking point from that game is why they're too physical, all the rest of it. But, I mean, if you're Steven Gerrard, I don't think you can be too angry with the performance from Rangers because they did create some chances to win the game. If anything, Hibs just did really well to stop them from doing so. And as we've said all season, when you've got Nisbet and Doige, you're going to score goals. So, I mean, what did you make of it in terms of looking at how Rangers played?
I think Rangers looked good. I don't think that there's there's this conversation about, Rangers have bottled the league they had at the top of the table, blah, 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 all the rest of it. You can't look at it too much. Ultimately, there's another 30 games to play. I'm sure that we'll still be neck and neck for the next wee while. Celtic will end up dropping points sometime over the next few weeks or so. Throughout the game, they had Hibs under the cosh, especially as it got late on. I was sitting watching the last 10, 20 minutes of the game thinking to myself, Rangers are going to score here. I thought Rangers were going to go and get a third and win the game. Marciano, what a keeper. The saves he pulled off, unreal. And it's just one of those ones, if you're looking at it's putting someone else between the sticks for the day, Rangers could have probably won 3-4-2. They had so many chances. I don't think Rangers fans should be overly worried about the fact they dropped points to a team who have started this season as well as Celtic and Rangers. Because they have. I know obviously they've not got as many points, but in terms of on-the-park stuff, Hibs have played some tasty, tasty football this season. So Rangers, I feel like, yes, there obviously is that disappointing feeling of dropping points, but I don't think they should be too overwhelmed with sadness and the stress that they have lost the points.
I think that the one thing for Rangers, if you're a Rangers fan, you would be, I think, slightly disappointed with is when they're chasing the game and they're trying to get a win at. I don't really see what their plan was at the end. So they put Eaton on, they put Defoe on, and they've got Morelos on. So they've got 3 strikers on, but I don't get what the plan was, really.
No, I mean, because it feels like one of those scenarios, and it feels like for me, when I was watching, I'm not criticising Gerrard here before people go off in the comments. I've already done enough of that over the past year in the podcast channel, right? But for me, it just seemed like Gerrard was in one of those scenarios in a game of FIFA. It's like, oh, shove 3 strikers in the park, we'll get a goal. Like,
yeah,
how is it coming?
I don't think Rangers really. They were still creating chances. They had big chances. I think all it took then was a wee bit of patience. Keep doing what you're doing. Get the ball to Kent. Get the ball to Arfield, who was driving on, and the chances will come. So I don't know. Maybe it was a bit of panic. I don't know. But ultimately, I can see Hibs causing Celtic problems as well this season. So I don't think that result is one to worry about. And I know we're in a situation now where if Celtic win their game in hand, they'll go top. But there's going to be both teams are going to drop points between now and the end of the season. The one big thing is Celtic have been hopeless by everyone's accounts. People have said it; they've not been very good. Rangers have been great. I've been one bigging up how they've played. I've said they've been really good, and they have been. They've been really good in the eye at times. But it just shows how easy it is, to drop points. Despite about how well you're playing. It's why it could have happened to Celtic at the weekend. Celtic played reasonably well, but they could have easily dropped 2 points there. So
you take your foot off the gas for a second, and you're punished.
Exactly. It's just been this Old Firm game is even more finely poised now than it was before.
Your opinion on the? I mean, it's going to keep going this year, isn't it? The offside goal.
Well, I mean, the offside goal. Yeah, it is offside. There's no two ways about it. It's offside. But, I mean, despite the fact it's offside, Rangers have still got to defend it better. I mean, Hilander's got to be more physical. He's got to be closer to Doidge. You shouldn't be letting him get the run on him. And they're going to get out and stop the cross. So, yeah, it was offside. But these things, it swings and roundabouts, I always think. But on to the decisions that I think were controversial.
Can I just quickly touch on the offside goal for a second? I've got one quick point to make.
Right, hit me.
Would it have happened if Douglas Ross was the linesman?
That sounds like conspiracy nonsense to me.
No, but look, can I very quickly on a more serious note before you move on to what you wanted to say, because I know you were going to say something good, because you're a good co-host, Dave son. Right, this I don't know. It's not one of these Ryan Fitzsimons bold claims. Here we go, because it's Rangers. But for me, yes, Rangers have started this season defensively so good. That's the first 2 goals I've conceded all season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still think? I don't even know. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I feel stupid for saying it. I do believe it, but I just feel stupid.
Right, well, if you believe it, then get it out there. There's no point sharking it.
I still don't. This goes for Celtic too. I'm not sitting here and saying that Celtics is anything special. I still feel like Rangers centre halves are bang average. I don't feel that anything special.
I disagree with that.
I think Julian and I are looking bang average at the minute
too.
By all accounts.
It just comes back to the fact there's a reason these guys, and although we try to big up the game and all the rest of it, there's a reason they're playing in Scotland and not playing in a big league in Europe. There is a reason for that, is that there is inconsistencies in all of their games. I think Goldson's a good defender. I think he's been Rangers' best defender for 2 years now. He's got mistakes in him, of course he does. If he was flawless every week, he'd be moving down south. It's just a fact.
See, that's the thing. I don't think... What I'm saying is, just to know this isn't for you, this is for the people watching before Rangers fans go off their nut about me, right? I still think these are good players. I think that Goldson's good. I think Hilander can be good. I think
they probably need another centre half.
Is it Balogun?
Balogun came in and he looked good, but he's too injury prone. They need somebody who's going to play every week beside Goldson.
These are good players, but for me, they're still bang average. Like they're no. I think there's been a massive gap in Scottish football for the past decade of quality centre halves. The only one who's came in
a decade ago or even longer, we had Stephen McManus and Gary Caldwell as Celtic centre halves. Now they weren't amazing defenders.
I think McManus was.
Well, I don't know if they were amazing though, but I remember Gary Caldwell especially used to make mistakes all the time for Celtic, all the time.
Because if you go back to like the tail end of the 2010s, you had McManus on one team. For me, I loved McManus. I thought McManus was great. He was a good defender, great captain as well. You had McManus on one team
as well. They all had mistakes.
You had McManus on one side, and you had Davy Weir on the other side. Mm-hmm. Like those were 2 great defenders. I don't think that either team has touched having a quality defender.
But how many times we've still seen times in the past where Davy Weir and McManus would get done? Like they had mistakes in them. These guys weren't perfect at all. I think
there's far more mistakes in the Celtic and Rangers centre halves now than there was back then.
Maybe. I think that Ajer and Julian are so suspect to both of them. I think Ajer, I know you did your most overrated video. I think Ajer's the most overrated player in Celtic. I think he's just so average.
No doubt about that.
Ajer is a holding fielder. I don't think he's a centre half because all he wants to do is.
He started his career as a striker, so.
I don't think he's a natural centre half. And a 3 works a bit better. But him and Julian are both really rash, I think, at times. I are probably more so. I do get what you're saying. There's holes in both defences. Duffy's going to make a massive difference to Celtic. We've seen that already. I think Balogun, when he played against Aberdeen the opening day, he looked really, really good. He's got that yard of pace. If they can get him playing regularly, he'll make Rangers better. I take your point. They both look a bit shaky. For me, I don't think there's one that's specifically better or worse than the other, to be honest. I think
because for me, the most impressive part of Rangers' whole team, and for me, probably the key reason they've been keeping out so many goals and keeping out so many threats, is the middle of the park. I think Rangers are really good.
Yeah, I agree.
In the middle of the park, I think in the middle of the park, potentially, I'm not saying by player.
You're not going to want to say it, but I'm going to say it for you. The reason why, if you look at the Old Firm games recently where Rangers have done really, really well, they've dominated the midfield every time. And even the games they lost at the League Cup final, they dominated the midfield. And that's why they do so well in Europe as well. These guys are so they're perfectly built for this kind of intense, physical, winning the ball back, all that kind of stuff. They're really, really good at it. One thing, though, I think at the weekend that Rangers suffered from is, for all we've raved about Barisic and Tavernier, they didn't give their centre-halves enough protection. If you look at the goal from Boyle, they've got to stop the cross. They've got to be more aggressive with the defending, as they are with their attack player. It's the modern-day fullback. We see it with Alexander-Arnold's a perfect example. If he was aggressive and as intense with his defending as he is with his forward play, he'd be the best defender in the world, because these guys they're attacking players from fullback.
It's just the evolution of football, isn't it?
It is absolutely the evolution of football. It's the same with centre halves. Like Julian and I want to play. Maybe at times they should just, and it's why I like Goldson, because I think he's still got that proper old-fashioned defender thing in. He'll just get rid if he needs to. Whereas I think
Shane Duffy, isn't it?
Yeah, Shane Duffy is exactly like Shane Duffy.
Yeah.
He's the perfect example. He's a defender first, and the Celtic and Rangers, they need more of that, I think.
Right, we've spoken enough about Celtic Rangers. So
we didn't even the big talking point at the Hibs game. We didn't even talk about it was the Porteous and Hanlon incident.
Of course we can't.
I mean, Ryan Porteous, right? I think he's a lucky boy. I think he should have been sent off, if I'm honest. And the reason I think so is it's just stupid. Like, I get what he's doing and I understand why he's doing it. Like, he's trying to noise him up and it worked perfectly.
Oh, aye.
But you run such a tightrope when you do that. I think he's lucky he didn't get the red card because it's just a bit.
Well, he probably is lucky. I think he carried himself through the game from a non-Rangers point
Listen,
of
you'd
view.
want him in your team.
Oh, aye.
From what he did at the weekend.
Oh, aye, absolutely. He carried himself superbly. It was fantastic to watch. I imagine Rangers fans don't hold him in high esteem, but what else can he do? Like, you're probably right. He probably should have seen himself going. He's lucky. But it's worked for them. After the game, tries to talk to Gerrard.
What's Gerrard doing getting involved in that?
Look,
he's an experienced pro, played at the highest level. He will have dished it out like Porteous did in a pitch many times.
Well, he understands.
I don't know why he's getting involved in that.
And this is, I was never a fan of Gerrard as a player. Never a fan of Gerrard. But I respected how good a player he was. Since he has come to Scotland, my respect levels for Gerrard have floundered. Honestly. And I'm not just saying that from a bitter Celtic point of view. I think he's at times and at the weekend, at times he's carried himself very well. But an example of the weekend of how he carries himself sometimes, he throws his toys at the pram one too many times for me. And before anybody goes like that, sorry, look at your manager, Neil Lennon. I'm not saying Neil Lennon didn't do it. I think Neil Lennon has carried himself brilliantly since coming back to Celtic. This time round, how many times have we seen him be out of order? Next to none. But in his first tenure at Celtic, of course, he carried himself.
I don't think Gerrard was out of order.
I know, but he's just a wee bit babyish. Out of order, I'm not saying that. I think he's a bit babyish.
The only reason anyone's talking about it is because Gerrard talked about it. If Gerrard doesn't mention it, we all forget about it. Every single league up and down the country, players knock each other up the game. They don't shake hands. It happens all the time. No. The only reason it's being talked about is because Steven Gerrard brought it up, and I don't get why he's done that. Because for me, what it does is it reaffirms the question marks on Rangers about them being soft, about them being easy to get at, because we had it last season when they crumbled. After the Kilmarnock game, when they got beat at Rugby Park, James Tavernier, I think in his programme the following Saturday, talked publicly about how Rangers couldn't deal with the pressure. They couldn't deal with the nitty-gritty. Right. And him bringing this up as an issue reaffirms that point for me. I think it was a bit silly for him to make the comments, but I think I don't think Ryan Porteous has done an awful lot wrong that most defenders you'd want your centre-half to do, especially when you know you can get at these players.
Before we move on, and before I get people commenting and going after, I'm not about my opinions of Gerrard. Look, I'm not being the biggest fan of his style since coming to Scotland. Show me a trophy that proves me wrong. Right, moving on. We're going to move on to the next segment of the show because we are done. No, we're not done. We've got Aberdeen and Motherwell to talk about. Very quickly, David. Very quickly, David. I talk Scottish football and I'm sitting there on an island, Topa.
Quickly, I mean, this is not a game you should be talking quickly, but there's loads of talking points.
No, I was talking about quickly. That's what, do you know, hear my point? Talk Scottish football, Island. It doesn't matter. Move on, fine.
So, yeah, nobody saw that result coming. I mean, wow.
Jeez, I'll tell you what.
My main, and this is what I've been thinking about ever since, is losing David Turnbull could be the biggest blessing Motherwell could have this season.
Well, we both said it. Right? We both said it.
We said it when he left, that it might happen. They're a better team without him.
I mean, look how they done last season.
It sounds mad, but now he's gone. They're back doing what they're familiar with. They're back doing what made them successful last season. They're back to the basics. They're back to the same shape. Guys like Polworth coming in, Chris Long coming in, scoring goals. They're now doing what made them successful last season. They've found that rhythm again. They've won 4 out of 5, and they've done it so quietly that we've all been talking about how they're still struggling. They've won 4 out of 5 now.
The biggest.
They're absolutely back in the hunt for third. The
biggest shock for me was after. Do you think they're back in the shine for third?
Back in the hunt, yeah. I don't think they're back in the hunt. Yeah.
Oh no!
Give me Aberdeen 3-0. Why not?
Right, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you about the Aberdeen result in a minute, and I'll tell you why I don't think it means too much. I wouldn't read into it being a third place thing too much. I'll tell you in a minute. But what the biggest shock for me was for Motherwell was coming off the back of this result, coming into this result off the back of that match against Coleraine. Going to penalties, we own Kearney's side.
And they played the same team, same 11.
Unbelievable. But for me, right, okay, you're saying Motherwell can go up and finish third now, back in a shout for third. Aberdeen will do this. This happens. You go so long playing well, getting results, doing it week in, week out, doing it in Europe as well. A capitulation is always due. It always happens. And for Aberdeen, it was there. Aberdeen will pick up from this game, move on, and I think they'll get a win in the next match. Motherwell, on the other hand, yes, I do believe it will kick them on. I think they'll go back into the top half now, third place now. Not a chance in hell, David. Not a chance in hell.
What? I don't understand why you think there's no chance. I'm not saying that they're back in the shirt because of that result. I'm saying it because of the way things have developed. They've now got the form back. They're back playing like they were. They've got a settled team again. And it's the reason we criticise the 11 for not having a settled team. Stephen Robinson's got that.
I think you're more confident in a Motherwell third place finishing Gogsy is.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying they're in the hunt for it. There's 3 teams in the battle for that: Hibs, Aberdeen, and Motherwell. I think Aberdeen will do it.
I think Motherwell are going to. So, how many points behind Aberdeen are Motherwell now?
I'm not entirely sure.
Look, for me,
again, I don't think it really matters because you said it yourself. These capitulations happen. Aberdeen will go on a run at some point this season, like Motherwell did at the start of the season. They will absolutely go 4 games, 5 games without a win. It happens all the time, as you said, and that's why I think Motherwell are absolutely still in the hunt.
I don't know. I think we've got a big disagreement here, Dave.
Oh, well,
I think so. Well, I mean, we'll see. One of us will be left with egg on our face.
They can finish 5th and still have been in the hunt for 3rd.
Yeah, I suppose. I suppose in the hunt for 3rd, I suppose they will be. Right, of course they're going to be in the hunt for 3rd. It's like me in the hunt for food constantly. I'm always going to be doing it. Motherwell, I suppose, will be heading for that. But I don't know. I think Hibs and Aberdeen are a level above them this year. I really do. I don't see them pushing those 2 teams to the limit this season. I think that.
But the fact they've just scored Aberdeen 3-0.
Look, the next time they meet, I guarantee Aberdeen will get their revenge.
But even if they do that, it still doesn't disqualify Motherwell from having a chance at finishing 3rd. It's the point you made. These teams have these hiccups. Motherwell have had theirs and come through it with flying colours. I don't know.
I don't think so, mate.
I think we'll just move on. So after the weekend...
it comes to the first disagreement we ever have, and you shy out of it.
Well, we can keep this going all afternoon, but I don't think there's a lot of point.
I know, exactly.
That's the weekend wrapped up. We'll move on to the news yesterday. It looks like... we're getting no fans back in the ground anytime soon. What?
You said you had a wee passionate rant about this, sir?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you still have the energy for it, son?
Not really, after that passionate rant about Motherwell. No, listen, it sounds like we're going to get no fans back in ground till March. I'll tell you what really annoyed me. Did you watch #United on the BBC the other day?
I did not, no, I must admit.
So there was about 300-400 fans at that game.
Jack
jumping all over each other, celebrating, having a good time like you'd always at the football. And I looked at it and I thought, well done, #delighted for them.
Aye.
But it infuriates me that can go on, but yet we can't get fans back in grounds in Scotland.
Yep.
It makes zero sense. Zero sense. Football clubs and stewards and stuff are strict enough when they've got their own rules to put in place out with this to know that if we put fans back in grounds, there would be regulations adhered to more strictly than there would be in your average pub. I know it's the pub argument always comes up. There's going to be cameras every week. These clubs, for their own sake, would have to make sure the fans stuck to the regulations. Why, oh why, they can't get fans back in is just ridiculous. And clubs in the lower leagues will fold because of this.
No one's sitting asking, and this is what annoys me, no one is sitting here thinking or asking or demanding or whatever word you want to use or expecting 60,000 people to be piling into Parkhead on Saturday. Nobody's expecting that. We know it's not going to happen. We know it's not the case. But if you are telling me that you cannot have people sitting 4 seats apart at Celtic Park or any other ground in Scotland with a controlled environment, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it.
But even like 10, 15,000 at Celtic Park would make such a difference to the product. It would make such a difference to those 10, 15,000 people as well. It is just so bizarre. I'm honestly so past even caring about it because it's so clear that the priorities are just so knackered, And March, it looks like it's now in the earliest date. Just don't get it. Do not get it.
It's a shame because you yourself, we spoke about this last night. You look at it from any club's point of view. Somebody like myself, my own personal experience, I've been waiting 10 years for this season, and now I can't go and sit and watch a game until potentially March. Your first year with a season ticket at Dunfermline, you don't even know if you can go and watch a game till March. Rangers fans waiting 10 years to perhaps stop this, they can't go and watch a game till March. It's the same every club. Every club's fans.
It infuriates me even more, right? So we will have averagely 3,500 at a game every Saturday. We've got an 11,000 seater stadium.
You can do that,
mate.
Easily. Like, what is the problem?
Fans are so desperate to get back, they will adhere to the rules.
I swear to God, I work in
this typical thing of this classist thing where football fans are treated differently, and we said it about the rugby players last week who broke the rules. They tested positive. Nothing was done on a national scale. Nothing. It's just this typical classist where football fans are treated differently to the average people, and it's just ridiculous.
I work 3/4 days a week in Tesco. Everybody knows, right? I work in Tesco. No secret. We talk about it enough. I guarantee you, I have worked sometimes 6 days a week during this bonanza since it all kicked off in March. And there has been times in that workplace when I have felt more prone, more vulnerable, and more likely to get the coronavirus or see my colleagues get the work virus in that work with the way things have been controlled. And I'm not blaming my employers or nothing here, but I'm just talking supermarkets in general. There's more of a risk of you going in with some manky bugger leaning over you to get a tin of beans than there is a sitting in your own isolated seat at the football. It's true. I don't see why we can't go back. And the worst part is, you know what? A supermarket is a necessity, so we'll give it a buy for a minute. We can sit in pubs.
Mate, football clubs are a necessity.
We can sit in pubs and we can do whatever we want in there. We can slabber at each other pretty much. Yet we can't sit at the football. I don't get it, and it's just frustrating. And I know there'll be obviously people who don't give a toss about football, all over the country that are going, "Oh, shut up! It's only a game of football." It's absolute nonsense. Take your opinion, put it to the side for a minute, and understand that a lot of people's livelihoods and a lot of people like ourselves actually care about the game and actually want to be at the games, and we want to be there every week because it means a lot for people. There's a lot of people whose mental health depends on football, and by taking that away from them, you're taking away a major part of their life that some people might actually rely on. And you're not even just thinking about fans here in this situation. I bet you there's people who love their jobs as stewards. I bet you there's people that love their jobs.
You're absolutely spot on, mate.
There are people who love doing things like this, and they can't go and do it for stupid reasons. Because I'll take away being a Celtic fan for a minute. At Celtic Park Live, it's a different story. But you've already touched on it. 11,000-seater stadium with an average crowd of 3,000-4,000 people. There is absolutely no convincing me that that is not possible with controlling how people enter and exit the stadium, how people get to their catering places, get to the toilets, everything else with stations set up to sanitise your hands. Yes, it costs a lot of money to set these things up. I understand that. But if you get them in place, there is no telling me that can't be done. And I know that Nicola Sturgeon has a lot on her plate dealing with a whole country in crisis, but I think we have been treated like, as you said, second-class citizens or such.
It's just mad. It's absolutely infuriating. I had a really good point I was going to make that. I was going out my head. That's really frustrating. But anyway,
That's my
Yeah, she's got a lot on her plate with the country being in crisis, but it's her job to make sure the country isn't in crisis, and she's not doing a very good job, in my opinion. But we'll leave it there.
We're not a politics show, but
No, we're not
very briefly, you touched on it very well, son.
Yeah, so it's just mad. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So they talked about how they opened the pubs and stuff to protect businesses. These football clubs, like, say...
They are businesses.
Mate, but it's not even... It's just... You said people say they're not a necessity. They are to so many people. If you look at, like, let's take Albion Rovers, right? They might get, what, 700-800 at a game?
Yep.
For those 700-800 people, that is massive in their life. And if that club folds, post-coronavirus, what are they going to do? What are they going to do?
I know, because
it's such a danger.
Just go and support another team. If that happens to you, I've never been in a situation in my life lucky enough. You have. You've seen your club nearly fold and turn to dust. You've been there. You've lived that. I've never done it in my lifetime. Celtic were obviously close, but I wasn't born. Blah, blah. These people are like, oh, they can just go and support another team. It's only football at the end of the day. Nonsense.
But also, I think there's a lot of this attitude with the Rangers thing. Rangers faced liquidation. They were always coming back. There was always going to be a Rangers. There was never this danger of not being a Rangers. It was always going to happen. They were too big a club, too big an institution for them to fold. For these smaller teams, if they fold, they're not coming back, some of them. They just don't have the finances. They don't have everything. So the government, I think, have got a right and a responsibility to protect these smaller clubs, because they are part of Scottish culture, man. They're absolutely vital to protect them.
Every single Albion Rovers, Airdrie, Rafe Rovers... You've changed your attitudes there. Rafe Rovers, Dunfermline, Fort William Football Club, whatever you want, any of these teams all over the country are in some areas the hub of the community. You know, they mean a lot, and a lot of people forget how much football clubs do for their communities. Charity work and youth setups, everything that these clubs do in their respective towns, villages, whatever.
It's a whole show on its own, this topic, isn't it?
It is.
We'll need to push on with the European stuff, because we're rapidly running out of time here.
Exactly.
So, perfect. Great points there, mate. Well done. But yeah, it's a show in itself. And I'm sure we'll pick it up again. This topic isn't going away anytime soon.
There's 6 months to talk about it.
Quickly, before we go into Europe, Scott McKenna signed for Nottingham Forest this morning.
Is that confirmed?
Gone through, yeah.
My goodness, sir. That's a
What's
bizarre
your thoughts?
It's a bizarre one, mate. Bizarre.
Yeah?
Nah, bizarre, mate. I just...
You're talking £3 million with add-ons.
For me, it's madness, because I've never been a big fan of Scott McKenna. And now he's going down to a team who were pushing Premier League promotion last year.
It seems to me like it's a great move for everyone involved, I think.
I think that Motherwell have made a decent sum of money. I think Scott why did I say Motherwell? Why am I thinking Motherwell? I think Aberdeen have made a great sum of money. I think Scott McKenna will be buzzing at the prospect of pushing promotion once more at Nottingham Forest. And I think Nottingham Forest have found themselves a player that hasn't skint them of a lot of money. But ultimately, I just still think it's bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, I think Aberdeen fans are quite happy with this. They cashed in on a player. They'll need to replace him, but I don't think... I don't know. Maybe Scott McKenna is one of these players who maybe is probably underappreciated. He's got 18 international caps now. So for Nottingham Forest, you get a player at a good age with that experience who is going to get better. For Aberdeen, you get a good sum of money. For Scott McKenna, you're getting something fresh, which he probably needed. Aberdeen need to go and replace him. That's the big thing. That's like a big difference, especially after Dave Cormack was very vocal about the financial losses Aberdeen had. That will do a good job in softening that blow. But yeah, an interesting move. It'll be interesting to see who they get in to replace him, because I think they'll need to get somebody in soon.
I think the biggest positive, before we move on very quickly, the biggest positive of all is no more McKenna to Celtic rumours.
Yeah, thank God that's done.
Come on!
On to Europe. So Celtic are in European action tomorrow night, as are Aberdeen, Motherwell and Rangers. Should be a comfortable victory for Celtic.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We'll see what happens with Ferencváros. Look, listen, it's a team that we should be beating, but I've came to the point in my life now where I don't put heavy expectation on Celtic to do well in European qualifiers. It is ultimately the most difficult part of being a Celtic fan. Hate it. So let's see what happens. We head over to Latvia with an 11 that we should feel capable of dealing damage. Ultimately, we spoke about it with Livingston. Cut out those errors, those individual moments of stupidity, and we should be heading through.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, they absolutely should be heading through if they can get back to. The one thing about having a big squad is, I mean, you'd like to. This is a Neil Lennon thing that also gets me. See, for me, tomorrow night is a big chance for Neil Lennon to start David Turnbull. It's a big chance to give Beaton a start, to give maybe Rogic minutes, because these guys are all capable of beating this team, and it's a good chance to get the minutes. But it wouldn't even surprise me if Neil Lennon went full strength tomorrow night.
I think he will go full strength. I think he will.
But the more natural thing to be would be to get those guys minutes, I would have thought. No. Especially Turnbull. I mean, Turnbull, he's got to get a start somewhere. So surely that'd be the perfect chance. I think Celtic will win comfortably. And I think they'll probably learn from their mistakes. I don't think Riga causes them the issues that Ferencváros did. On to Rangers. Rangers going away from home to play for Willem. Rangers in Europe tends to be a pretty straightforward exercise. They've so good at these.
They've got a winning formula. So
yeah, and I think they'll do it again. Bold prediction, I think 3 out of the 4 Scottish teams will win tomorrow night.
I think the one that's going to lose is quite... I don't know. Actually, I'm looking at these games, right? And you're saying 3 to 4. Very capable.
I think there's a chance for all 4 could. I think there's a genuine chance.
There is a chance all 4 could do it. But to me, when I look at it more and I actually stare at it and I'm looking at the games in front of me, the game we're about to move on to, Beersheva and Motherwell, I think that could be the toughest gig.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that'll be the
especially
toughest
with the developments at Sporting. They're ravaged by COVID just now. Numerous positive tests. Players will be missing. Coaches will be missing.
Aye. Funnily enough, did you hear that the manager of Riga won't be in attendance for
So I think Aberdeen have got a chance of getting something in Sporting, and it would be a huge result if they did.
Oh, aye.
I just fancy Aberdeen. I really do. I think Motherwell might struggle, but equally, I wouldn't be. I think they've got it in them. Beersheva caused Celtic problems not that long.
Yeah, I was about to say Celtic are familiar.
For Motherwell, it'll be a big ask, but they could do it. I think Aberdeen, though, with the circumstances, the fact that it's just one game suits Aberdeen, I think, because there's pressure on Celtic to come out and have a go. And yeah, I fancy Aberdeen. Bullshit, but I do. And I think Aberdeen, Celtic and Rangers will progress. Motherwell, I think, will just miss out.
Shame for Motherwell.
What's your predictions for the 3?
I think we'll see Celtic and Rangers go through, and I think they've both got a chance. Realistically, I'm going to go for just Celtic and Rangers. So I do want to see all 4. I want to see all 4 go through, and I think Aberdeen are more likely than Motherwell. Bold shout, but I think only 2 are going to go through.
Interesting. And finally, we'll just wrap up with some Twitter questions. We put this out yesterday.
Well, I want to get this quizzed. I want to get this quiz that you've
got. Right, okay. I completely forgot about this. So
I do that before the Twitter questions.
Yeah. Let's set this quickly.
Just quickly, I'll give some context. So I went through a couple of the podcasts in the past and gave you a quiz. And I have yet to be tested. My knowledge on Scottish football.
This is really easy, though. If you don't get 10 points, you should be disgusted with yourself.
All right, okay. Put the pressure on me.
So it's in because of Scott McKenna's big money move today. This is basically 10. I mean, I'll give you descriptions of 10 players, Scottish players who've moved for big money in recent years, and you've got to give me the answer. So start off with the easiest. Left back that moved to Arsenal for 24 million from Celtic. Kieran Tierney, obviously. I'm not even going to let you answer that.
I was going to say Johnny Hayes.
A Scottish forward who once joined West Brom for 15 million.
Oliver Buck.
The striker's most expensive move.
Here, hold on, very quickly. Oliver Buck the other night, by the way. What a performance. After you judging him against Villa last night, or Monday night, whatever it was. Brilliant performance.
Did his team win?
No, they got beat.
Didn't think so. This striker's most expensive transfer was a 14 million move to Sunderland.
14 million. 14 million. 14?
Scottish striker, his most expensive move, 14 million to Sunderland. Oosh, I thought you'd have got this.
Stephen Fletcher.
It is Stephen Fletcher, well done. Number 4, now Aldershot Town. This forward once joined Aston Villa for 12 million.
Aldershot Town?
Oh, so you've missed this news this week then. He once joined Aston Villa for 12 million. Scottish striker. Wow, he's struggling.
I must struggle. Jesus, Scottish striker.
We'll come back
to that one.
Former Rangers right back who joined Spurs for 11 million.
Alan Hutton.
This Newcastle player cost 11 million pounds from Bournemouth.
Ryan Fraser.
No.
Because he went for free, didn't he?
Yes.
Scottish. Oh, Matt Ritchie.
But you technically got that one wrong. But no. This Scotland cap was a 10 million Sheffield Wednesday buy.
What's his name again? Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
What, centre half?
No. There's a few Scottish players for Sheffield Wednesday over the year. I'll give you a clue. He's a striker.
Oh, what's his name? Craig Mackiel-Smith.
No. This guy was once Europe's joint top scorer in a season, up there with Ronaldo and Messi, when he played for Huddersfield.
Oh, Jordan Rhodes.
Yeah. 8, Scotland's most expensive goalie.
Craig Gordon.
Number 9, this guy had 2 Rangers spells, and in between he moved to Blackburn for 8 million.
2 Rangers spells. Blackburn. Man, I'm hopeless at this. I'm absolutely hopeless at this. Go back to what's the last one?
Actually, I need to make sure I got that one right.
You don't even know.
Number 10, this left back now looks a snip at £8 million.
Andy Robertson.
Right,
so the two is Aston Villa and Aldershot Town.
Yes. So the Aldershot Town one, this guy, money moves. Actually, I need to get the results up because I haven't got them. The Aldershot Town, so he's had a couple of big money moves. He also played for Fulham, and he has also played for Leeds.
Fulham and Leeds? Aldershot Town? Mate,
ex-Motherwell.
No, got a Scooby, mate.
Oh my God.
No, got a Scooby.
It was Ross McCormack.
Oh, Ross McCormack.
Ross McCormack signed for Aldershot Town this week.
There's a name.
An interesting one. Let me see if I can find this final one.
And then the last one was Blackburn and 2 spells of Rangers, Blackburn in between.
Yeah.
Kevin Thompson.
No. Centre midfielder though. I need to make sure I'm right.
I'm trying to think. Rangers, Blackburn, Rangers.
Was it Blackburn?
Yeah, so you're just giving me false information. Was it Birmingham by any chance?
Yeah, see, this
Barry
is what's
Ferguson.
confusing me. I thought it was Barry Ferguson.
Barry Ferguson played for Birmingham, no Blackburn.
No, he did play for Google and BBC are telling me he played for Blackburn. I always thought it was Birmingham.
So that if he played for, he didn't play for Birmingham. I know he played for Birmingham.
Yeah. So you obviously I just got it confused. Then he played for Birmingham, but he went from Rangers to Blackburn, then Rangers. After his first spell at Rangers.
Right. So I was right with Barry Ferguson.
It was Barry Ferguson. So you got 2 wrong there.
But did I?
Yeah, because a couple you got second guesses on, so Matt Ritchie you didn't get right.
Fair enough, right? Okay, well that was actually.
Actually, you only got 7 out of 10. That was
tough. You didn't get 10.
I did get 10 when I did it, but then when I was looking at the Barry Ferguson question, I was like, wait, was it Barry Ferguson? I thought he played with Birmingham. Forgot about that, but I got it right eventually.
Right, we'll move on to the final segment of the show, the Twitter questions. Hey, get your
this is a long show this week, but we'll
very quickly. If you're watching, you're listening, make sure to follow the Twitter account, the Instagram account, where you can have your say in the podcast every single week with questions relevant to the week past in Scottish football. Absolutely.
So we've got 2 questions, Hibs related, one from Freddie Forrester and another one from Sodge 1885. Both basically about Hibs. Will Hibs keep up that early form? And Freddie says, can they challenge for second?
Don't think they'll challenge for second. I think they'll keep up their form. I think Celtic and Rangers, over the course of the next few months, you will see move ahead, because Hibs are going to drop more points than what Celtic and Rangers will, realistically. So I think they'll keep up their form, but that is including a loss a month for such. So for me, they're third.
Yeah, I think they'll be challenging for third. I think they'll finish 4th because I think Aberdeen will nick it. But hey ho, we'll see. Will the title race go down the wire, or will a team pull ahead post Christmas? I think it's definitely going down the wire this year.
I think it'll go further than Christmas, but I think the title will be decided 34, 35 games in.
Do you imagine the scenes if we had a helicopter Sunday?
No, I don't imagine.
It would be just like horrific, but like in a really good way.
Oh, it'll be alright for you. It doesn't affect you, mate. I've been waiting 10 years for this moment. I think whoever is going to win the league, whether it be Celtic or Rangers, it will be decided 34 or 35 games into the season.
So, Callum O'Rourke, big fan of the show. Callum's always in the comments and all the rest of it.
Cheers, Callum.
Predictions for the European qualifiers, we've kind of done that. A good point on Tony Watt. Do you think Tony Watt is now getting towards fulfilling his potential?
I think fulfilling his potential is never going to be done. I think that's out the window. But I think he is picking up form, and I think he'll do well. I think Motherwell have found himself a good signing in him. But that potential will never be felt. Never.
Who would be the bigger loss for Rangers, Morelos, Kent, or Barisic? This is also a Callum question.
Oh, that's a big one. I've always said it, and I'm going to stick to it. Alfredo Morelos.
Right. Okay,
Alfredo
I
Morelos.
think Ryan Kent at this point would now be the
We all
biggest.
know you love Ryan Kent.
I don't even like. It's just so obvious when you watch him play now how important he is to Rangers. Everything goes through him. So I think, and they've Gerrard's clearly planned for this season. That Kent's going to be the main man. So if they lost him now, it would really put a spanner in the works. But I do think Morelos will have a good season for Rangers.
I think Morelos, if he was to go, which there still is talk of, Gerrard or somebody was Defoe's trying to convince him to stay or something, some nonsense.
And the final question, Connor Carr asked, do we think Neil Lennon will figure out his best 11 before the Old Firm game?
Probably not. I mean, if it's gone the same way as it has been the last few weeks, then probably not.
I think he probably knows. Yeah, now he's probably got an 11 in mind for that game, but whether or not he's going to play it, and this is the issue.
I think he knows in his head perfectly well what his best 11 is.
The issue he has is that he's not playing it, and when they're not playing together, they're less of a. They will be a better 11 if they're regularly playing together. So I think yes, he'll have an idea, and I think he'll probably pick what he thinks is his best team. Well, I mean, obviously he will. I mean, he's not going to go into that game and not pick his best team, but it's whether he's right or not is a different thing. And that wraps us up with the Twitter questions in today's show, which was a long one. But
that was a good show, though. Good gas bag. Yeah, that was
also, on the Saturday stream, 5,765 people viewed that stream on Saturday. Outstanding support.
Superb.
We should be live again this weekend.
Oh, wait. You know what that means, huh?
What does that mean?
I think we should make a wee song of the episode for the end of the episode. Just a wee, because you know what song sums up TSF just now?
What's that?
The only way is up, baby.
Oh my god! I'll leave that to you.
Song of the day, lads. Go and listen to it when you go off. About a DJ the next time we start. Song of the day.
At least you got the guitar out, which is always horrific.
It's just over there if you want me to.
No, we'll leave it. That'll do us.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have enjoyed the show, then you know what to do. Make sure to press like, make sure to press subscribe, and most importantly, make sure to share the podcast out on social media with your friends, with your family, with whoever you like, just as long as the podcast season's growing. It's been a pleasure sitting beside sitting through with my good friend David Buick. David, any final thoughts before I end up pressing stop record?
Kerr McInroy. Or McKenroy, however you say his name.
Kerr McInroy.
Signed for film from Celtic yesterday on loan. 2 goals last night, a friendly. What a player.
That's my
final thoughts.
That's how you got to get me in the back of your shirt, huh?
Absolutely, mate. Well, he's younger than me, which is just terrifying.
Mate, it's a horrid thought, isn't it?
Mate, it's horrid.
As always, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you all next time.